This is my summary of learning for our EC&I 832 class. Our first class, we were asked to share what we thought digital citizenship was. I was nervous to answer as I felt at the time that I wasn't actually sure and that I thought it was simply understanding how to use technology and using it respectfully. After reading a couple of articles that first week, my thinking about technology was starting to change, specifically the article by Sonia Bakari, where she explains why she quit social media due to the posts of her as a younger child, had me rethinking my own social media use and how much I've been posting about my son before he was even able to have a say. This was also outlined in the article by Leo, who touches on the topic of posting our children on social media and the divide it has created. That first class, we also talked about the scare tactic that we often use with students and children, which I know all too well, as that is how I was brought up with that narrative that the internet was a scary place. And I really want to try and change that narrative. So, how can we show students the power of technology and using it as a tool versus just the fear? We started our dive into digital citizenship with Mike Ribble joining us. He shared his quote that digital citizenship is the continuously developing norms of appropriate, responsible, and empowered technology use. The idea that digital citizenship is continuously developing was an important aspect to my learning through this course, as I often feel I'm looking for that black or white answer of this is what it is or this is what it isn't. So it made me realize just how complex and large of a topic digital citizenship can be, and that was compared to what I had originally thought. He discussed the various elements of digital citizenship. A few of these I was familiar with or have seen and had experience with, but there were a couple that I wasn't as familiar with. So, for example, digital access, digital fluency, and digital health and welfare. I think we spend a lot of time talking about screen time and healthy technology use. He also provided us with the progression chart, which gives a good overview of the different ways we can look at each element and when it might be appropriate at what age. Another important topic of digital citizenship that we talked about was your online identity. So during her Content Catalyst presentation, Brittany presented the question, does who you are online match who you are in person? Both Brittany and Josh presented thought-provoking content as to who we identify as online and how online platforms may alter our identities. So Brittany's article by Khalil describes the multiple masks we may have when using different platforms. So it's important for us to recognize that our identity might change based on what platform we're using, but also so that we can teach that to the children and the students so that they are more aware as well, especially as they are vulnerable to trends and changing their sense of identity based on what is maybe in at the time. Dr. Alec Kuros also spoke to us about our online identity and how it can impact our futures, such as posting and potentially not getting hired for jobs or fired from jobs. And Jennifer Casa-Todd also spoke about the professionalism of teachers online as she shared the Ontario Code of Ethics. So it's the idea of how we represent ourselves online. It also takes into account how we interact with others, such as responding, sharing ideas, and who we follow. The next important takeaway from this course was how to teach digital citizenship in the classroom. We had many speakers share their experiences and ways in which educators can shift their teaching without having to reinvent the wheel. Wes Fryer shared his experience with project-based learning and incorporating the digital literacy skills while working through those projects. Jennifer Casa-Todd also discussed her student networking experiences where students could see different worldviews and have discussions over social media platforms while also learning how to communicate respectfully online. Miranda, Jenny, and Alicia presented ways we can also incorporate digital citizenship skills simply by modifying the outcomes, which we already teach. It was a common barrier for teachers that it's a lack of integrated curriculum. So through the activities we participated in, we had an opportunity to hack the outcomes to see how we could make small but meaningful connections. During this Content Catalyst sharing, we were given the Common Sense resource, which was one I wasn't familiar with, but I actually found beneficial as I've had to use it with my grade 3-4 class since then. I think it's important to note, though, that while our speakers and presenters shared some practical ways to incorporate digital citizenship into the classroom, there's still quite a few barriers. So classmate Brittany also shared some of the same thoughts in one of her blogs, which stuck with me. Just saying that we recognize that we need to do these small, slow changes, but it's not as simple as it sounds. So, for example, teachers are just overwhelmed with everything that's on their plates. Sometimes it feels like there's a lack of guidance from the school divisions or lack of urgency, like technology and digital citizenship isn't that important to them, especially with the new cell phone policy in place. And there's always going to be that digital divide where you have some teachers, especially I feel in the younger years, that feel that technology just doesn't belong in the classroom and that it's the parents' job. So we're always going to have those kind of barriers that we need to try and overcome. Media literacy and understanding how to be media literate was my topic for the Content Catalyst. I was intrigued by this idea that media literacy is dead, which was trending at the beginning of the summer, as we face a time with more misinformation and disinformation in the world. So, from my research, I discovered the importance of critical thinking, and in order to be media literate, we need to develop and practice those critical thinking skills. Critical thinking has never been my strong suit, and similar to Jenny's reflection, I feel like I will forever be working on my critical thinking skills. But when looking at social media or just media in general, we should start asking ourselves some questions that involve reading beyond the headlines and looking more closely at reliability of the source. So, some examples up on the screen is using that CRAP method or just some other general questions about where the content is coming from. Kelsey also presented on being media literate and shared a wonderful video on the 6 areas that make up critical thinking skills. This was important information, and I have since taken that information to use in my classroom to help my students' critical thinking skills, not only in the digital world, but just overall in their literacy skills. These skills are important when recognizing and identifying fake news. Chris shared the various types of fake news, which was new to me and reinstated the importance of having those media literacy skills. Lisa reminded us about our biases and how confirmation bias will also affect the way we interpret media around us. And the concept of a filter bubble was also new to me, but something that I've been paying more and more attention to and just more aware of in my own media use. Generative AI was a large focus throughout this course and one that I am very thankful for. If it were not for the opportunity to dive into AI in this course, I'm not sure would have taken the time to do so and probably would have just continued on with my misunderstandings of what exactly AI is and more so just the fear around it. So taking a look at one of my earlier blog entries when we first began discussing AI, I felt I did not know where I stood on the topic, nor how it could benefit me as a teacher. Now at the end of the class, I still don't know exactly where I stand. I feel like I'm maybe right on that middle line, but I do see more uses to AI and how it could be used instead of only seeing those negative fear side of it. So, throughout our various discussions, we explored the use of AI in the classroom and discussed some of the implications and ethical concerns with AI. I enjoyed listening to Chris Kennedy share his division's use of AI and the various ways some of the teachers are using it. I also watched the video he had posted with the different teachers, and it was nice to see just the different levels at which people are using AI in their classrooms. Some of the ways AI could be helpful for teachers include creating resources that could be engaging or just a change in pace, help with assessments such as creating rubrics, providing insight on feedback given, or even just the way we communicate with parents about our assessments. AI can also help with some of the many tasks teachers have, speeding up the process and allowing time for other tasks. It could also help individualize assignments for students if they are needed. On the flip side, we need to be aware of some implications of AI, such as errors or those hallucinations. So, similar to what Miranda had said in one of our class discussions, how AI had created an outcome that wasn't there, we need to be aware of that. Also, that argument whether or not AI is using AI in assignments is considered cheating. So, we need to make sure we are modeling how we are using AI and if students should or could be using it and how they should be doing that. We also need to be aware of the moral responsibility of using AI in using our critical thinking skills. So, like that example with adding in extra outcomes, we need to make sure we are kind of cross examining that stuff that it's telling us and making sure it's actually accurate and what we are looking for. We need to recognize when it might be giving us some false information. It's also important to understand that AI has biases, and we also need to be aware of the safety privacy and security concerns that come along with AI. So, overall, I feel like AI is a fast developing tool that will continue impacting education. I think as educators, we may have a hard time keeping up with the growth and understanding all its limitations, but we need to remain open to AI and how it could look using it in the classroom. Thinking of my own personal reflections from this course, I was quite hesitant to use AI and the extent to which I could use it. Even though we were encouraged to use it and be curious about AI, I did still feel like it was a bit of cheating. That was likely just because of it being my first course after 10 years of being away from university. I wanted to see how much I was able to manage without the use of AI. Also, thinking moving forward, I know there's a strict AI policy in place for other courses, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't rely too heavily on AI. However, as the course continued on, I did start exploring ChatGTP outside of the course, using it for work and personal life. So, some examples were looking up some attendance questions and critical thinking questions to have discussions in the class. In the course, I did start using AI to help me develop some meaningful or creative titles for my blogs. I also used it when trying to make my annotation for my Content Catalyst article. I created my own. I asked ChatGTP to create one, and then I compared and see where I may have missed some uh, key points. I did enjoy having the opportunity to blog and network with our classmates. I did find it a little bit challenging to navigate a new platform. It was a bit intimidating at first, and I'm still not sure I understand all of the features, but I was able to get the job done. I did struggle the most with understanding the difference between my casual or academic writing and kind of understanding where to mix the two. I do think at the end I found a happy balance, but I think moving forward I would try and stick towards more academic writing over that casual or conversational writing. I did find moving on that I was starting to gravitate towards some blogs more than others. I did try and make an effort to read everyone's blogs at least once throughout the course, but I did find it difficult to try and comment on everybody's. I also found it difficult just balancing work and life, especially when trying to comment on people's blogs, simply because I was posting at one time and I found I'd have to keep checking nightly as to when others were posting so that I could have that opportunity to comment on them.